It started with Musk slamming the president's so-called big, beautiful bill.
You know, I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it.
It looks like their relationship has ended.
I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Well, as everyone knows by now, Donald Trump and Elon Musk have turned on each other, and although Musk now admits he went too far, a reconciliation looks impossible. The two were a powerful combination. Arguably, they won the last election together. But there were always doubts that these two men could play on the same team for long. People on the left are now gloating, and some on the right are looking rather defensive.
I love both Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and I was very upset.
Well, I think it's pretty funny to watch. Almost everybody except for Donald Trump hated Elon Musk.
I just feel like these are petty fights amongst billionaires. I don't want to be a part of that.
We'll get to them in a moment, but first, in case you missed it, here's how it all started.
The first rumblings of the fallout came on May 28th when Musk gave an interview to CBS about Trump's big, beautiful bill.
I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing.
Later that day, Trump defended the bill, but avoided addressing Musk's criticism directly.
We will be negotiating that bill, and I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it. That's the way they go. It's very big. It's the big, beautiful bill.
And they were still friends on May 29th when Elon Musk announced on X that he was resigning from his government position at DOGE, saying, "I would like to thank President Trump for the opportunity." Trump responded on Truth Social saying that Elon will always be with us. The next day, Trump even awarded a golden key to Elon Musk, who was in the Oval Office sporting a black eye.
Elon's really not leaving. He's going to be back and forth.
This is not the end of DOGE, but really the beginning.
But after 4 days of relative quiet, it all kicked off on June 3rd when Musk viciously turned on the bill, tweeting, "This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination." The next day he said the bill defeats all the cost savings achieved by DOGE and that there would be no money left for Social Security, healthcare or defence, and called on US citizens to kill the bill. Then Trump responded.
The bill is incredible. It's the biggest cut in the history of our country. Elon's upset because we took the EV mandate, and which was a lot of money for electric vehicles. Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we will anymore.
Elon Musk denied Trump's claims and said he was never shown the bill, then said that without him, Trump would have lost the election. Now it was getting personal. Trump hit back at Musk on his Truth Social account and said Elon was wearing thin. "I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars. He just went crazy." And then he threatened Musk's government contracts. Less than an hour later, Musk linked President Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. He later deleted that post, but the damage was done.
Is there anything that you can do to forgive him? Could you see that happening?
Well, I have no hard feelings. I was really surprised that happened.
Okay, let's bring in our guest now. And Trump campaigner Nick Adams is with us, as is Republican commentator Janelle King, and finally the Democratic strategist David Shuster. As often is the case, David, on this program, you're slightly outnumbered, but your extremely high IQ should hold you in good stead. Let me start with this, David. Senator Ted Cruz said, "I feel like the kids of a bitter divorce, where you're just saying, 'I really wish Mummy and Daddy would stop screaming.'" Is that how you feel?
Well, I think it's pretty funny to watch because keep in mind, these are the two most powerful men in the United States. And if you believe the Trump White House, which has been leaking like a sieve, almost everybody except for Donald Trump hated Elon Musk. You had the Treasury Secretary who accused Elon Musk of doing absolutely nothing, of being a fraud. There are a number of reports that the DOGE efforts are actually going to cost the U.S. government more money than DOGE would save. So I think a cumulative effect of a lot of people in the White House not liking Elon Musk, Donald Trump perhaps getting a little bit sick of Elon Musk as well, and two enormous egos. Plus, Elon Musk saw his business tanking and thought, okay, maybe this is the time to step away.
There you are, Nick. Just as I expected, David Shuster and the entire left gloating over this row. What have you to say about it?
Matthew, unsurprisingly, unlike David, I did not enjoy at all what transpired last week between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. I love both Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and I was very upset to see this feud play out so publicly and in such a nasty way. It is important, I think, to note that President Trump has been remarkably restrained in light of the things that Elon Musk was saying. I always predicted that this would blow over. It appears that that is now happening with President Trump, of course, wishing Elon earlier a few days ago all the best, and Elon Musk responding likewise. And of course, now we have an apology from Elon Musk saying that his tweets went too far.
Yes, but
So
Nick, the damage is done, isn't it?
it could be. I don't know. We'll have to see how it all plays out. I don't know if it's something that can't be reconciled ever. We'll have to see.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, Nick,
it's in the interest of everyone.
you are a die-hard Trump fan, so I think if you've got to pick between the two, you'll probably go with Trump. You probably think he's more important to the country. But just on a matter of policy, Elon Musk is stepping away because he thinks that Trump's big, beautiful bill has undone, and more, all of the work he's been doing at DOGE. Would you agree with that?
I do 100% support President Trump all the time, Matthew. I will say about the big, beautiful bill, look, no big bill is ever perfect. But this particular bill is delivering massive tax cuts. It is offering unparalleled border security, which is what the American people really care about. So I think that this is a bill that's worth supporting.
David, quick rebuttal, and then I'm going to go to Janelle.
Well, it's offering massive tax cuts to the wealthiest. The bottom 25% are going to actually lose money. The middle are not going to see any change. So, yes, it is going to blow up the U.S. national debt by trillions of dollars. And that was Elon Musk's task, was to cut the national debt. So he is being undermined by this bill.
Janelle, you're a Republican commentator, but you have your reservations about the bill. Is that right?
I do. I actually kind of share some of Elon's perspective on this. We can't walk around saying that we are here to cut spending and that we are going to do drastic things, which we have seen. There's a lot of people who lost their jobs. There's a lot of big moves that are happening that's affecting people. And the reason why we're justifying it is based on the fact that we believe these cuts and these drastic moves are going to be what's best for the country. But then you turn around and it feels as though we're not willing to make these type of decisions when it comes to those who will be affected in Congress or in the Senate. But I have to say, as it relates to the fight between Elon and Trump, I don't really care. Let me tell you why. I consider myself to be a part of We the People. We the People have a duty to hold everyone accountable. And if we're not doing that, I don't like when we start subscribing to worshiping individuals. It's okay to have a nominee. It's okay to get behind your nominee. But I've been in Republican politics from a little intern all the way up until now. That's over 15 years. And the way I see it is that the individuals will come and go. We have to maintain the principles of the party. And that's what I feel is withstanding. And that's why I share a little bit more of Elon's perspective, because I think it's more aligned with our party principles.
Yeah, David, Musk was a Democrat, and any hint that he might now fund Democrat candidates has been threatened by Donald Trump with reprisals, with financial reprisals, reducing government contracts and subsidies and so on. Do you suspect that your party can lure Musk back to them?
No, and I don't think the Democratic Party wants to lure Elon Musk. If Elon Musk wants to fund challengers to Republicans who vote for Donald Trump's awful bill, that's fine. I think Democrats are going to sit back on the sidelines, and it makes sense for the Democrats just to let the Republicans fight. It's that sort of old adage that when somebody's busy shooting themselves in the foot, you don't add to it, you just sort of step back. And that's what the Republicans are facing right now with Elon Musk making these threats, saying that Donald Trump is part of the Epstein files, claiming that anybody that supports Donald Trump could face a Republican challenger. Democrats are wise just to sit back.
Yeah. So, Janelle, there have been some signs of reconciliation. Elon Musk tweeting, "I do regret some of my posts about President Trump last week. They went too far." And here's the president speaking before that tweet came out.
Look, I wish him well. You understand. We had a good relationship, and I just wish him well. Very well, actually.
Janelle, do you think that is it? That is the lowest that these two will go, and now that they will publicly make up? Or do you think that Trump, knowing what you know about him over the last, 30, 40 years of his record, do you think he will seek to take Musk down?
No. I think that they're both going to let it go. I do think that this is an honest response from Elon. You know, Elon has been very, very public about his Asperger's. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that. If you have anyone in your family, or you know anyone who's on the spectrum, or if you're on the spectrum, as we all may be in some capacity, I think there's some times when you have these truth moments. And for him, he gets into these rants where he becomes very, very truthful, very blunt, very honest, very clear. And then he pulls it back because he realizes that was a little bit too much. It's kind of like when I'm told by my husband to give us a little bit of 75, not 100. But so I think sometimes he has to learn how to pull it back a little bit.
Was it truthful when he said that the reason why the Epstein files haven't been released is because Trump's in them?
I think so. I'm being honest. I think so. I don't think that there is.
I love Janelle's honesty in all of this. And I think the other thing about it is, but with all due respect to the argument about, Elon Musk, and maybe we should forgive him because of his Asperger's. I mean, it was Donald Trump who was calling reporters and telling high influential Republicans last week that Elon Musk has been high on drugs, that Elon Musk has a drug problem, that he's crazy, that he's sick. So you either believe Donald Trump, who thinks that Elon Musk, of all people, is not qualified to do this because he's nuts, or maybe you show some sympathy to Elon Musk. But either way, it doesn't matter. Elon Musk and Donald Trump are Splitsville.
I want to be clear about something. When I say that I do believe that Trump is in the Epstein files, it's because we already knew that Trump was in the Epstein files. I mean, we know that he flew on the plane. We know that he was in the records. I mean, we know all of that. But you even had Cohen come out and say that he had absolute proof, and he totally believes that President Trump has nothing to do with the atrocities that is Epstein. So I'm not really concerned about that. And as it relates to the drugs and all of that stuff, I just feel like these are petty fights amongst billionaires. I'm not in that class. I don't want to be a part of that. I'm a part of We the People, and holding them accountable means I'm going to keep looking at what President Trump is doing. If he continues to lead us in the right direction, as we're seeing with the illegal situation, then I'm 100% in support. Sure. But I'm not going to get into the middle of a fight between two billionaires.
Just to be clear, Trump cut off Epstein around 2004, years before Epstein was convicted of sex crimes in 2008. So going back to you then, Nick, just winding it all up, do you think his presidency is in trouble at the moment?
I don't, Matthew. I think Donald Trump is already the greatest president in American history. I think the next 3.5 years is going to bear that out even further. This is a man that is incredible, what he has done for the country, what he has endured to fight for the American people. No one on this panel, and indeed very few people out there in the world, would be able to do what he has done and continues to do every single day.
Thank you, Nick.
This is a man that is competent. This is a man that is great. This is a man that should be supported 100%.
Thank you, Nick. And thank you for bringing laughter to David Shuster. Janelle, one last question before we go. Have a listen to this, and I'll ask you a quick question off the back.
Any quick reaction on what's going on with Elon Musk and President Trump on Twitter right now?
Oh, man, the girls are fighting, aren't they?
So, Janelle, ALEXANDRIA Ocasio-CORTEZ there comparing Musk and Trump to girls fighting. Do you think she was being stereotypical there? My program editor suggests that maybe she's a misogynist.
Look, that makes me laugh because the hypocrisy, the ridiculousness that continues to come out of her mouth. First of all, because this is their problem. They created this scenario where we have 511 different genders, so they have no clue what it is. But then when they tell you if you're a girl, they're saying, now make sure you don't act like a man. But then they say, wait. I mean, wait, hold on. No, being a girl is acting like a man. Like, they get so confused. She doesn't know what she's talking about. I have very little respect for AOC. The fact that they're even considering her for 2028 is laughable. I actually think that they should put her in as the presidential candidate so we can beat her, and in this case, beat another woman.
Janelle King, David Shuster, Nick Adams, thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Well, that's the satire out of the way. In a minute, we'll be getting serious with two economists. But first, a brief look at some of the highlights of Trump's big, beautiful bill.
Trump's tax and spend plan is the largest domestic bill in decades. It's thought the tax cuts alone would add an estimated $2.4 trillion to the national deficit, which is perhaps why the bill aims to raise the debt ceiling by $4 trillion to $40 trillion. Other highlights include $800 billion in corporate and capital gains tax cuts, and workers who earn tips will no longer have to pay tax on that money. But there are proposed cuts to programs like Medicaid and food stamps, totaling around $880 billion. The poorest Americans will be worst hit. while $25 billion is being put by to start the so-called Golden Dome missile defence system. Trump claims that the bill would ultimately pay for itself by boosting the economy. Critics are not so sure.
OK, let's bring in our second panel now, and we have the author of Trumponomics, Stephen Moore, and we also have the economist Steve Keen. Welcome to the programme, both of you. Stephen Moore, if I could start with you. You know that we're talking about this big, beautiful bill in the context of the split between Musk and Trump. Now, Musk has said that the bill will undermine all the savings we found at DOGE and more. Is that a fair criticism?
Well, there's no question Elon Musk is very frustrated. I think we're all frustrated that so many of the savings and efficiencies that he found and so much of the waste and fraud in our budget, this bill does not really address that. And so I feel the pain of Elon Musk, who really devoted 3 months of his life to exposing the rampant waste in our federal budget. But he's wrong that this bill would be counterproductive. We have to pass this bill or else we're facing a $4 trillion tax increase next year, which would be absolutely devastating to the U.S. economy. So I think the plan now is get this bill passed as quickly, efficiently as possible. And then later in the year, hopefully a lot of these reforms that Elon Musk was talking about will be put into law. We'll see about that.
And who are the winners and losers of this big bill?
This is a bill that everybody gets a tax cut under this bill. Big beneficiaries of the bill are the U.S. economy. It means more jobs. It means more capital flowing into the United States. And that isn't just a hypothesis. We know it's true because we passed the bill in 2017. It's been an enormous success. And we just want to make sure the successes of that bill continue.
Stephen Moore, you'll notice that the mainstream media are concentrating on the fact that the bill contains tax cuts for the rich.
Yeah, well, the truth is that this is one of the lies that's been repeated over and over by the media. It's impossible for that to be true because the share of taxes paid by the rich went up substantially. It used to be the top 1% paid about 40% of the income tax. Now they pay about 45%. So it's impossible to say it was a tax cut for the rich when their tax payments went up.
OK, so Steve Keen, a couple of things there. It will grow the economy. There are tax cuts for all, and it's got to be done. Otherwise, it will increase the debt. Can you just take those one at a time? Do you think the net effect of this bill will be beneficial for the United States?
Oh, it's a bit of a dog's breakfast because in opposition to Stephen, I think we need a deficit because the deficit creates fiat money. So I'm actually pleased that the attempt that Musk was making to slash the deficit has failed. But of course, this one now changes the deficit from, I think, 2 trillion to 2.6 trillion. And then most of that increase in the deficit is actually due to the tax cuts for the rich. There are tax cuts inside there for the poor as well. People waiting on tables won't be paying taxes on tips anymore. I think that certainly appeals to a large part of Trump's blue-collar base. But fundamentally, I'm glad that the obsession with reducing the deficit has died a rather painful death in this whole falling out between Trump and Musk.
Aren't you concerned about the cost of servicing the debt? Apparently, it's almost equal. Well, it's almost equal to the spending on defence annually.
Yes, we give far too much money to the finance sector. I don't argue with that, but it's not having to borrow money it's not paying interest in the same sense that you and I would do. We have to earn income to cover any interest we pay on our mortgages and so on. And if we don't have the interest, we can go bankrupt. What actually happens when the government pays interest on outstanding bonds? It does it exactly the same way that it finances spending in excess of taxation. It creates the money. Now, it's creating too much money for the finance sector. I reckon the finance sector should be 1/3 the size it is, if not less. It's a bloated system, and we're keeping it bloated by paying 5% interest on debt equivalent to 100% of GDP. I'd rather be paying that 5% to the working class who spend a damn sight more than the finance sector do if you want to get some follow through for the overall economy. But there is no problem in the government paying that interest, none whatsoever, because we're making a false household analogy when households have to earn external income to the government, which creates money.
Yeah, and you're not concerned about the spending of that money, the deficit and also the overall debt, putting downward pressure on the value of the dollar?
Well, the dollar's overvalued anyway. This is one part of the Trump agenda that I agree with, coming out of Stephen Moran's argument that the trade imbalance, the massive trade deficit that America has, is baked into the system and penalizes American manufacturing and has not been solved by exchange rate changes. I think he's completely correct on that. So I'm quite in favour of the attempt to reduce the trade deficit. But the rest of the argument about the painful, the danger of high levels of government debt, it's private debt that matters. And this is always ignored by mainstream economists. And when you have an attempt to cut government spending and government debt, what normally happens is the private sector goes in and borrows and gets involved in Ponzi schemes like the subprime bubble, which began under Clinton because Clinton ran a surplus. And the government surplus drives the private sector into deficit and tends to encourage speculative behaviour by the private sector rather than sensible investing.
That's very interesting, Stephen Moore. Clinton did boast about being the only president to essentially run a surplus. Was that not something he should boast about?
Well, look, I think Bill Clinton was one of our most fiscally conservative presidents. I'm a Republican, but I really admire so much of what Bill Clinton did. And the reason we're running these enormous deficits is that prior to COVID, we were spending about $4 to $5 trillion a year. We had a massive increase in government spending when we made the huge mistake of shutting down our economy back in 2020 and had an extra $2 trillion of annual spending. And once COVID was over, we never took that money back. We just ratcheted up the size of government. And so what I think a lot of the members of Congress and the Trump administration saying, let's go back to the level of spending we had before COVID. And if we did that and we grow the economy at 3%, which I think is very plausible, I think we can do that, then we will dramatically reduce the impact that our deficit has on our overall U.S. economy.
You know, I'm surprised, Stephen Moore, that you don't have more sympathy with Elon Musk. He said that the bill was packed with pork, basically for the Congress people to spend in their communities so that they will enhance their chances of being re-elected at the midterms. In other words, it's a political decision made to save the hides of the politicians and not to look after the country's finances.
Well, I agree with that, actually. I mean, welcome to what we call the sausage-making factory in Washington. Politicians of both parties will do everything they can to get reelected, which is, by the way, I would put the odds at about 90%. The Republicans will pass this bill because failure is not an option. If they don't pass it, we're going to face this huge tax increase next year. The American people will revolt and vote the Democrats back in. So the bill will get passed. But look, I'm with both of you. I think there are a lot of savings that could be made and efficiencies in our government that were left off the table. And I'm as frustrated by that as Elon Musk is.
Steve Keen, do you accept what Stephen Moore said, that everyone is going to get a break from this? It's not skewed particularly towards the rich?
It is skewed towards the rich. It'll make a big difference to the poor not to pay income tax on tips, but that's incredibly small bickies compared to the discounts that Trump is passing on to his wealthy friends, who, of course, the major reason why they're going to do that is they're going to be beholden to him in future. So it's biased towards the rich. The rich don't spend as much as the poor. They have far more money, but they spend far more slowly. So you'll get less of a boost out of this than you would have got if there was some equivalent cut in the burden of taxation on the middle class and working class. But I'd rather see more spending for the working class and middle class, the welfare, the health, which is, America's got an appalling situation for a developed country in terms of access to healthcare for people who aren't millionaires. And that's something which is one of the main problems about America. This bill does nothing about that.
And Steve Keen, a bit of spending on infrastructure wouldn't hurt?
Yes, exactly. I mean, American infrastructure is a bit like what used to be said about military intelligence. It's an oxymoron. The state of American infrastructure is dreadful. Of course, you compare it to its main rival, China. The state of China's infrastructure is a dream by comparison to America. So America is deindustrialized and deinfrastructurized in the last 30 or 40 years. It's time they reverse that.
Steve Keen, talking of spending, what about the Golden Dome project? $25 billion just for starters.
No, it's nonsense. And of course, America's threats from missiles are rather different to those from Israel, rather larger missiles involved. And the whole idea that you can protect yourself from this sort of technology with yet more technology, we need negotiations rather than weapon systems.
Stephen Moore?
We ought to, we were talking about waste in government. There's no more wasteful agency than the Pentagon and our $1 trillion defense system. So we need to, start getting rid of inefficiencies in our military budget as well.
And Steve Keen, just a final answer. Like Stephen Moore, do you anticipate the bill will be passed?
Yes. I mean, America does have the best government that money can buy. So yes, it'll get passed.
Steve Keen and Stephen Moore, thank you both very much. Really appreciate that. And thank you at home and on your phones also for watching. If you want to see this episode or any of our previous episodes, do go to our channel on YouTube. Just type in Nexus TRT World. Until next week then, goodbye.